Today's video is an exploration in mould rigs, creating rigs that you can insert into your now created homemade pressure pot or whatever you've created. If you're into resins, silicons, I've only just scratching the surface of this, but I mean this is the second version I created, and now I'm coming up to the problem of how do I populate the pot, best populate it. Doing it flat, but then again it's got sloped sides to it, so it'll never be flat if I lay that rig on its side. So I'd have to create flat inserts that have got wedges at one end, at the open end, thicker than the other. There's just things to think about. And cutting things with, what's that, hacksaw blade or Stanley blade to cut uniform fitting pieces. I mean, I set them two squares up at the back with a clamp and then sanded the end of the tube on 60 grit sandpaper, rotated it painstakingly in the corner until it was flat. Then I put that tube on top of there with the hacksaw blade clamped at a set height to create a ring, and it was a complete waste of time. But well, it was a complete waste of time for the project. What the idea was is I'm going to place it in the tub at the bottom, so it can be a flat standoff from this dome, because this flexes inwards, which is why I put that on there. So when there's pressure in the pot, it doesn't flex out and rupture the pot or fatigue the plastic too much. So it's a pressure stop and centre of sorts. It does its job, but this does not. It's the same, exactly the same size, but I thought, right, I can flex that, pop it in, rotate it round, and it will sit flat at the bottom. But obviously it doesn't do that. I thought, right, well, I'll file out the hex centres and then it will sit in the corners at worst, but it won't do that. I don't think it will do that. It takes so much work. Need a smaller tube if I'm going to do that. That's just an idea, because it sits in the roll in the corners far too much for it even to be worth attempting. So another way round is to find metal lids, screw lids, pots, tin cans, you know, baked bean cans, anything you can find in the world that you can create. It just so happens that this just about fits. Oh, it usually captures itself in the lid, but there you go. That fits, and then it floats above and creates a flat surface in your pot. So you're then free to build a Christmas tree tower of whatever you want with, I don't know, dowels. Is this the right size? No, it just doesn't happen to be the right size, because that was for the centre pin for my radial jig for my router, creating discs of set sizes without using hole saws, which just so happens to be that size because this was the jig for the centre seal for the silicone to go around. So if you pop that in there, now it sits flat, and if you've got a dowel or a threaded rod or whatever you've got running up the centre, you can take it out, populate it with whatever you've got mould set up. I mean, these were some bottle caps. I come up with the idea that you can fill them with silicone, create moulds and negatives of things in the world, and then you've got a pin going through two air holes with another cap that's been chopped just to sit in there. And then when you want to demould, if you can't get it out, you just unscrew the back cap, poke it out, demould, and then you can get your solid item that you've reproduced out of the centre. in theory, never tested. Don't know how well it works, but it seems like a good idea. And there's a couple there, just for... Right, let's put them aside, don't need to look at them anymore. Right, this lid, let's try it again. Just drop it to there. There you go, it just fits. So if this was something that I was going to put in an oven for Hotworks plastics and then pressurise, this would be unsuitable because it would touch the side walls of my pressure pot and it might damage it. Don't want that to happen at all. And it's quite stiff, even if it was like a Christmas tree of them. So you need things that are going to fit smoothly and go together smoothly, so you don't shuffle all your silicons and your resins all up in the air and you just end up with a mess. So this one is a plastic tub, I don't know, beauty pie, whatever that is, but this one fits in no problem. So you could make a tower out of those with a threaded rod up the centre for quick access, or you could have threaded rods to the side, 1, 2 or 3 on it to keep it level, or God forbid screw in some upstands or something. I don't know, you can get really creative with these things. I mean, and that works as a standoff as well as a plastic standoff, and it's a lot deeper on that one. Let's get rid of that. Stick that on there. Metal one on there. I'll sort them out in a bit. And what was this? This was the attempt when I plastic one, which was one of these peanut butter crunchy bases. I just set it at a set height with a Stanley blade, clamped onto a flat piece of wood and rotated it to get the height cut at exactly the widest point of this tub. As you can see here, it tapers, and I needed it to be extremely wide for my experimentation work with the avoiding that radial. It was another idea for a seat. There you go. Another idea for a flat seat that you can then plop whatever on. It works. It's all about taking up negative space and avoiding touching that centre dome that's going to want to blow outwards anyway towards that piece of wood. It was a mess about. It is all a mess about doing this stuff. And then it's finding projects. What else we got? Metal tub again. That's a Christmassy thing. It seems like it'd be a shame to bust that up, but it's just an example. Things that you can find in the world. Stick it in, fill it with resin. I mean, you can set other tubs inside that tub if you've got pre-arranged moulds, just because it's big enough to do it. And what's this? This is a jar lid, and that defeats the dome in the small mould that I never got around to using. There you go, back up the right way. This was a tub for rabbits, papaya and pineapple, and it was really thin. I did try to do that with it, and every attempt come out and it was rubbish, so I threw them in the bin. So you win some, you lose some. My analog stick mould that goes in there, and now I've got it. I've started thinking of mass producing. Maybe I can cut these down to a set height using that same method with the blade or the Stanley blade, so the saw or the Stanley blade, and get more on a helter-skelter of an insert. So you get them into position, have them all set high, inject it with the exact volume, then pop them down, stick them on, put the whole tree in there, and then get it in there quick, and then pressurise it, 40 psi, 2 hours done. Get it all out. I mean, you will have failures. This was a solid rubber, and that was the first pot. Once it got to 40 psi, this blew off, it defeated the outer thread. The thread blew out because I didn't have a ring capture point to stop the thread from expanding and going up. It's before, I think that was, I don't know if it was before I think I might have had the wooden bung in the middle, but it defeated the thread. Just to iterate some of it. What we got here? This was I think that was going to be the container for safety to go in the glass one to go in that and then do that. Or that one was going to be a container on its own, but it's too small, so I thought, right, well, what do I want? I want volume. Let's just go to that, see if I can do it. And that is all to report. If there's a thing in the world and there's a will to do it, to get it done, you can do it. There are plenty of materials. You've just got to change the way you think about things in the world when you're dumpster diving or rummaging through skips for materials. And that's the other thing I was going to say. I inadvertently, when I just discovered this, just laying it all out. Come on, get out of the way. Right, inadvertently discovered that this one, oh Christ, it sticks to the tissue paper because it's a sappy piece of wood that's really annoying. It's been leaking like that, and I don't know if I've done it a couple of weeks ago or not. Just sap, just goes everywhere, sticks to everything, stuck to the floor, at least underneath there's a big black patch. It's a pain in the bum. But what I discovered is when I've set up that big tub, I could grab a board with a handle on and use it as a plunger. But it just so happens that this one fits all the way in, so I can use that as a plunger, or if safety is a concern, I can take that out and stick that in sideways, and it's got an extra side deflection for any blowouts. Not that it was a problem anyway, it's just there, it just exists. So keep up the efforts on manufacturing stuff for yourself. If you give up, you've already lost, haven't you? Which I am close to doing. I really am close to giving up on life. Thanks for watching. It's not a very positive end, is it? Just get things done. Don't quit.